Welcome to Classic Heart, the BMW Group Classic podcast. My name is JP, and our guest today is Baron Dominique Moorkens. Today we're talking about motorsport in the wild 70s, when races took place after work with little money involved, and it was quite dangerous.
This car is the most honest car you ever see.
It's been a dream ever since I've had it.
The first time I heard that engine screaming, I thought, I gotta have one of those.
For me, the cars have personality.
What's great about a BMW Classic is the community that surrounds it.
When you listen to that, that's why we're here.
Baron Dominique Moorkens was on the racetrack himself in the 70s. His career on the racetrack is closely linked to his lasting connection to BMW, a brand his family represented as an importer. Welcome, Baron Moorkens.
Thank you.
Baron, you look into a very instinctive career in automotive roots. Like, you were really connected to the automotive from the beginning. You are from Antwerp. So were you born there?
Yes, I'm born in Antwerp. So we had our activities in a smaller city called Kantik, who is very close to Antwerp, where we had the business, the activities. We had there even an assembly plant for BMW. So the headquarters of our business was located very close to Antwerp.
So you grew up with your family's BMW enterprise all around you, but your father also raced, right?
He raced with a motorcycle at the start, and later on, when we started the distributorship of the importer of BMW, he was racing with the BMW 700 at that time.
Oh, wow.
At that time, the racing manager of BMW was Mr. Alex von Falkenhausen. And
Baron Moorkens, allow me to give some reference to those who might not be familiar with the name von Falkenhausen. He was indeed a very important figure of the BMW motorsport legacy. So von Falkenhausen, a racing driver himself, he was also building engines as an engineer. He was a motorcycle racer, and he was actually the one who convinced BMW, when the Neue Klasse came out, to put them also into races. And I think he won something like, in 1 year, or maybe 2 years, he won 17 hill climbs internationally with the Neue Klasse car. So I think that is quite an achievement. And also, he was the one who really started the idea of the BMW 700 with his engine he developed for the car to also become a famous race car.
Yes, the BMW 700 was really a very good race car. They were racing, they were races only for the BMW 700.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was 5, 6, 7 years, I was already staying at a racing track. And so this was my first feeling. I say I would also race. And later on, also, my father was a very, very good friend, very close friend of Jacky Ickx, the father of Jacky Ickx. And his father was a journalist, very good journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 2 kids, Pascal Ickx. I think Pascal even won the 24 hours for Francorchamps with BMW.
I didn't know that.
And the second boy was Jacky Ickx, who was also a very close friend of me. He went during holidays, he spent holidays at home, and so we had a lot of fun together.
That sounds like this.
And then later on, I started racing when I was 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, it was a BMW 202, a very famous 202. And I start racing, I make some rallies, and then aisle climbs, and a lot of tracks also, Francorchamps, Zandvoort, the Nürburgring, and all different tracks.
Yeah.
I was participating to the European Championship, Tourenwagen, yes?
Yeah, very nice German word.
Yes, with the BMW 202, that was facing with the Ford Capri, the Alfa GTA. It was really fun.
And how was your father's reaction when you started racing? Was this something you did together?
He say you may do it, but you have to do it by your own.
Mm-hmm.
I will not support you, but yes. I think he was rather proud that I'm doing that, and sometimes very anxious also, because I think at that time racing was rather dangerous, even with touring car. So it was a mixed feeling from the parents.
Yes.
So it was much more difficult for the mother. But I think she were proud that I was doing that and succeeding, and so it was okay.
In your father's company, they assembled BMWs, but also motorcycles, right?
We assembled all different brands from UK and even also from Germany, Zündap.
Okay, yes.
Zündap was a very famous producer, also located in München.
Yes.
And after that, we start producing BMW. We start even to assemble the BMW 300, the Isetta, because it was very easy. We sell it during the same dealer network as the motorcycle, because it was in fact a kind of motorcycle with a roof.
Technically speaking, yes, the Isetta is a motorcycle with a roof, a bit more wheels also, but I mean, we leave that fact aside. And I mean, the space inside is also not much more that you have on a motorcycle. But nevertheless, for me, the Isetta is the perfect city car. No parking issues,
Yes.
nothing.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, you see some initiative of Isettas coming up nowadays with,
Yes.
I think, Microlino or...
Yeah, Microlino does it, like reinvented it, absolutely, in a full electric version, which makes total sense.
Yes.
Because you
yes.
don't need a combustion engine that has, I don't know how many horsepower in Isetta had, maybe you know, but I think it was less than 10, I would say.
Yes. I remember we were selling the car at less than €1,000.
Yeah, imagine, huh?
950 euro, you had a car.
Imagine at that time. That's crazy. So motorcycle was never something that you were looked into?
No. But in fact, Jacky Ickx started his career with a motorcycle.
True.
With our support, because he started with a Zündap as a trial, and he make also some races with a Suzuki 50cc.
Cool.
And we were the distributor of Suzuki at that time. And so he make, I think, 2-3 races with Suzuki 50cc.
And Barry Moorkens, you and Jacky Ickx are about the same age, aren't you?
Jacky Ickx, born 1st of January 45. I'm 3 years younger. So, but Jacky support me. I was very close to him many times at that time, and he gave me his racing clothes coming from old Ferrari team with Firestone or with the Golf. Still now I have a lot of clothes from him. And yes, he gave me all the support at that time.
Amazing. It must be great to have such a close friendship with a legendary racer that Jacky Ickx is. And for those two who might not know who Jacky Ickx is, he's one of the most successful racing drivers in racing history. Born in Belgium, he ruled the F1 races with, I think he had 16 wins alone in F1. He beat famously Porsche in the 1969 Le Mans race. He did other endurance races very successfully, other racing series. He was the one who won Dakar Rally with Mercedes at that time, I think back in 1983. So he was really someone who everyone looked up to and still does, because luckily Jacky is of very good health and around, and still a big commentator and advocate for racing.
My hero was Jacky Ickx. I think he did really fantastic things.
So is it fair to say that we have this term gentleman racer? So I think both your father and you, it applies to, I would say. And the gentleman racer is a non-professional racer who races professionally in races, because you do all the same thing like professional teams do. But you're not a paid driver in this sense. You finance your driving and racing yourself. So does this term apply to your father and you, the gentleman racer?
This period with a lot of gentlemen drivers. I think it's completely different that we are facing now.
Yeah.
Much less money involved. Sometimes driving even with a car to the racetrack and getting back with the same car.
Yeah.
But a lot of fun.
Yes, that I could imagine. I see that. And I think it's this famous term, what they always say is like race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yes.
So this helped also. So, but did you get any support from BMW despite the fact that you were producing and importing cars for Belgium and I think the Benelux?
Yes, I received little support. First, there was a kind of financial support.
Yes,
but
which is needed because racing is awfully expensive.
Yes. But and it was open for all BMW drivers, racing drivers, and also I had the chance to obtain special engines. The engines were prepared by the racing team in Munich.
Yeah,
and so I had very, very good engines. I think slightly better than the competitors.
But just to make it easier to imagine, when did you start racing? Which year?
I think I remember it was 70, 71. That was my first race at that time. At that time, every weekend you had activities, either hill claims, either racetracks. In Belgium, we had Zolder, Francorchamps, Nivelles also, and Chimay. We had many, many different tracks.
And when you said your father said, you can do racing, Dominique, please go racing, do whatever you want to do, but I will not support that financially. But did he support you with advice?
They support me with advice. We had also somebody in our company, Mr. Milou, who was a former racing driver, very famous racing driver, motorcycle. He support me also, give me some tips, give me also some help and support. I think some are basically technical advice in order to make the car more performance.
Yeah.
At that time, there were no physical advice. I think no, actually the racing drivers are supported by coaches. So it was more a kind of moral support, yes. Actively raced 2.5 years, so not that long. I think at a certain time I stopped racing because it was too time-consuming.
Yeah.
When you go abroad, you have to leave on Thursday, coming back on Monday, and so yes, it was impossible to manage professional activities and racing activities together.
Yeah.
So I decided after 2.5 years to stop and say I have to go to the business.
Yeah. At what age was this?
At that time I was 25, 26.
But I mean, you have a very, very good years then.
Yes.
Would you say that it is nearly impossible nowadays to do the racing on a level you did, especially for the extensive 2.5 years where you really focus on it, that it's nowadays nearly impossible because, as you said, too much financial involvement is needed and also it's very time consuming. So that is also a big change. You don't see lots of young people racing. Would you say so?
I believe that the problem nowadays is really you have to be fully involved in that. The chance to succeed is rather poor. There are very few going really to the top. And I find also in our time, racing was much more dangerous. Nowadays, the race tracks are very safe. So they are ready to do everything. That was impossible in our time. Because if you get out of the road in the 70s, yes, it went wrong.
Yeah. And but did you ever had an accident?
Yes, I crashed one time in Nürburgring. It was during the 6 hours of Nürburgring. It was 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. I take the car and there was a little road climbing up and I had the sun completely in my face, and I was completely blind.
Yeah.
And I went out of the track at that time, but yes, the car was strongly damaged, but I had no injuries. So that was...
God bless. Is it like in horse riding? You say if you fell off the horse, get back on the horse as soon as possible, that you don't stick the negative memory.
Yes. I think that's the situation you have to take. And no, it was a bad memory, but it didn't affect my position of my situation.
Yeah. What's the secret of being a good racer? What do you think?
I think you need to have a kind of balance between risk-taking and safety. I think I was more balanced, more safety. Yes.
Yeah. Good, because this is the reason why we can speak to each other. And what is your fondest memory when you're looking back at your times racing?
BMW race with the Formula 2, yes, at that time, with Jacky Ickx, with Dieter Quester, Hubert Ahne, in the 70s, with a car. The chassis was done by Dornier, very, very good car. And they went at Zolder. There was a Formula 2 race, because at that time, Formula 1 driver drove Formula 1, Formula 2, GT. Every weekend they had a race. And the racing team, BMW, was there, and they give me the opportunity to make some with the Formula 2, yes? Mm-hmm. And that was really, yes.
Did you ever race a 24-hour race?
I did it twice in Francorchamps.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, it was the old track with 14 kilometers, not the existing track. And yes, that was a really experience. So the first time I finished sixth.
Wow.
In the 24 hours. At that time, it was not racing full throttle during 24 hours. That's nowadays, but because at that time, the mechanics didn't accept that.
Yeah.
So you have to be care of the car and to save the car. The problem in the Francorchamps was at that time with the old track, there was always a very misty part of the track, starting at 3-4 o'clock in the morning until 5-6. So you need really guts to go there.
Yes.
Because you are completely blind and you have to drive very, very fast. But it was very, very good moment. But at that time, every year at 24 hours, there were 1 or 2 people passed away who were accident and were killed. I think nowadays the society did not accept that anymore.
Yes.
But at that time, yes, it was part of the deal.
But I'm also, by the way, like Jacky Ickx, a big advocate for safety and driver safety. And I think Jacky Ickx did a great job at this.
Yes.
But I could imagine if you come out of Eau Rouge and then you go Radion and you go Camel and then just the break before Le Combs. I mean, that must have been really amazing, especially in the old track.
And the old track was, you had the Mazda.
Yeah.
It was 2 kilometers, very, very fast. With houses on the left, on the right. So sometimes very dangerous there.
So in Spa-Francorchamps, you raced as a team, right? How many were you in your team?
How many?
How many were your team members or co-drivers? Or did you do the 24 hours on your own?
No. At that time, it was only 2.
Okay.
We were not allowed to have more than 2 drivers.
Yeah, crazy.
So I did that with a friend called Robert de Rome, and also with Jacky Ickx, a different team member. Mm-hmm. But we were always 2 and no more. It was not allowed to be more than 2 drivers.
And how did you prepare for this? Because it's the difference if you do Nürburgring 6 hours and then driving in total maybe more than 8, 9, 10, 12 hours.
In fact, we were not very well physically prepared at that time. It was not an issue. We were working till Friday, till Thursday, and then going immediately to Francorchamps and then drive the racing. So no coach, no physical preparation, and so on. So that's a completely different world to today. I think it's completely different approach nowadays. But at that time, yes, it was really gentleman drivers. We go to the track and we start racing.
I mean, this is the idea of doing just that is still amazing to me. And I have to say, chapeau, because it is physically very challenging driving a race car, isn't it?
Yes. I think nowadays it's much more physically difficult nowadays with the existing cars than it was before. BMW 202, we had 220, 210 horsepower.
Yeah.
It's nothing to compare with the existing cars, but the car was the weight 900 kilo, 950 kilo. So I think nothing to compare, I think, with the existing cars regarding the speed on the corner, regarding the brakes and so on and so on. It was completely different, my opinion.
And how was it for you to drive against the big shots, the big names? You mentioned, for example, Ickx, I mean, all the big names, Jochen Maas, Stommelen, whoever. I mean, how was it for you to race? Did you race against them or did you race with them?
We raced with them. Frankly speaking, they were in first division and we were second division.
Yes.
We had good contact with the BMW racing drivers, Hubert Ahne, Dieter Quester.
Yes.
I think who was the son-in-law of Alex von Falkenhausen. And those were the factory pilots of BMW at that time. Yes, but they were, frankly speaking, they were in another division than we were.
How was the atmosphere like? The smell, the sound, everything. So I just can say my first time in Le Mans, I still have it in my nose memory, like in my olfactoric memory, was the mix of rubber, petrol, popcorn, and frit. That's the smell I remember from my first Le Mans visit.
In Belgium, you have to add the beer.
Of course, Leffe.
The atmosphere was completely different than nowadays because the stand, everybody could walk within the stand and so on. So it was a really sympathetic, very closely atmosphere.
Yes.
And now everything is clinical nowadays.
Yes, and also with all the, you cannot access this one, but you need to have this pass, and you have to this pass, and that one.
Yeah. Yes.
So it was very democratic, let's say.
Very democratic.
Yeah.
Very democratic. And I think nowadays you find the same atmosphere during the historic racing. I race 2-3 times at Le Mans with a historical race car, and I find you find this real atmosphere of 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And people could go close to the car, can discuss with the mechanics, can discuss. So it's much more friendly, I find.
And much more approachable, you're right, absolutely.
Yes. So sometimes I'm driving on the classic cars, and yes, I find it's completely different that nowadays it's, yes, you can really enjoy it. You see the cars are not perfect, everything is really human. And nowadays Formula One is not human anymore. It's on the top of the top, but it's lack of humanity, I find.
Yes, I also enjoy the classic car races a bit more. It's always very special to see these beautiful machines in action.
Yes. My father was a lucky owner of a BMW 507.
Wow. Is the car still in the family?
No.
No.
It's a pity. I think at that time also BMW was really on the top with the Alpha and the Ford Capri and so on. So it was also the good car for racing at that time.
And for you, what was your first car?
My
the track?
of the track. It was a BMW 1600 4 doors. Not that most challenging, I think.
Yeah, but for a start, not too bad. I think your parents did wise on that one.
Yes,
and
yes.
to be honest, I mean, what was the age of the legally driving in Belgium at that time?
It was 18, but I've been catched by the police one time when I was 17 and driving on the road, so I had no chance.
And was your driving license then a bit? You were allowed to only do it later, or were you still going on 18?
No, at that time it was a lucky time. You receive your driver's license without exams or without tests or everything. So, so it was. Yes, it's a completely different timing. I've been catched at 17 driving a car, and we had problems with the police. And 1 year later, I had to sign a document that I will not drive before my 18, but I was already 18 at that time, so it was completely crazy. Yeah. But that's really the administration.
I need to ask you, what did your parents say about that?
I think officially they were not okay, but unofficially they say why not? I think yes.
But I have to say, I mean, getting a BMW as a first car is not too shabby, I would say. It's very good.
Yeah.
And what did the car mean to you personally?
I was really expecting my 18 years.
Yes.
We had a house outside the country in the Ardennes, and there I could drive on private road, and I did it already when I was 14, 13. I just reached the pedals, and I was already trying that. Reaching 18 and starting driving, it was really a very important day for me.
Yeah, I can well imagine that. Baron Moorkens, we have a little element in our podcast called the pit stop.
Yes.
That means I will ask you a couple of questions and please answer them very quickly without thinking too much. So let's get ready for the pit stop.
Yes.
Coupé or limousine?
Coupé.
Limousine or station wagon?
Station wagon.
Mint condition or enthusiastically driven?
Enthusiastically driven.
Driving alone or driving with passengers?
Alone.
Driving or being driven?
Driving.
Car sharing or no car?
Car sharing.
Road trip or racetrack?
Racetrack.
Highway or country road?
Country roads.
Stick shift or pedals?
Pedals.
Petrol or diesel?
Petrol.
Petrol or electric?
Electric.
Electric or no car?
Electric.
Engine in the front or in the back?
In the back.
Engine in the back or in the middle?
In the middle.
Left-hand drive or center drive?
Center drive.
Sell or keep?
Keep.
Buy at auction or at a dealer?
At the dealer.
Radio on or off while driving?
Radio off.
If the radio's on, podcast or music?
Podcast.
Thank you very much. That's it. Let's jump into your answers a little bit. You said driving alone. So is that more relaxing for you or?
It's more relaxing and concentrating. I think about my agenda, some things I have to do, trying to make clear some elements and some purpose. When I stop at the company, I have 20, 30 minutes before going home. And so it's time to relax and to change mind and change the logistics.
Yeah. And then very interesting, I ask you about diesel or electric and you choose electric. So what is your take on e-mobility?
I'm driving electric now, and in fact, I like it. It's just for mobility. Yes, it's no fun driving, but for mobility, I think it's very quiet, very soft. Also, because you have no need to have service anymore. I find it's so easy. The electric cars are improving really day by day. The batteries also, I believe within a few years, we could produce electrical car very, very cheap for mobility. And maybe with not a long range, we will go in a completely different world, my opinion.
Yeah.
And the mobility will need a different approach. I'm sharing cars also nowadays. I think it's the city mobility will be completely different that we had in the past.
What electric car are you driving?
I'm driving a Hyundai Ioniq 5.
Yeah. Very futuristic shape. I love that.
Yes, very futuristic. Yes, and driving very well. And
yeah, superb.
I will tell you, I've reached 100,000 kilometers.
Really?
Yes, and I didn't spend €1 in a dealership.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, it's not good news for the dealerships, but
no. But I think we have to prepare the future. I think it's. You don't have to be blind. I think it's that's the situation of tomorrow, and yes.
In best case, tomorrow is always different than yesterday, so we cannot always stick to the past. To round up our wonderful conversation, and thank you also for sharing your part of your life being a gentleman racer. And also, I have one last question. What key lessons from racing have helped you in your career?
It helped me a lot because at that time when I was starting, I was 18, 19, 20. And in fact, all this racing activity was a kind of small enterprise. And I think it's bring me entrepreneurship because you need to have your car, you must be prepared, you need money, you need logistic, you need people management and so on and so on. And so it was really a small, medium enterprise for me that I have to manage. And so that bring me a lot of experience for later on for my career as a businessman.
Maybe that was the idea of your father. This is why he said you can do racing.
Yes.
But you on your own.
On your own and started. And yes, it's not always what you expected, but at least it's a learning curve as an entrepreneur. So that was, I think, a good support for my later career. I think it was a few years university.
It's a real-life university.
Yes.
With lots of fun.
And lots of problem also, because it's not...
Of course.
It's 1 hour driving and maybe 20 hours working and mechanics and so on and so on.
And I think we should not forget discipline. Discipline is also very important to have success. It's you can do whatever you want. You can use as many SI as you would like to, but you have to do discipline and also being willing to work hard. Still, it will be like this and it will not change.
Definitely.
Baron Dominique Moorkens, thank you very much for joining us on our Classic Hard session today.
With pleasure.
It was a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it. And also thank you for being so open and also sharing your experience and advice. So thank you very, very much.
Yes, and excuse me for my poor English.
No apologies needed here, Baron Moorkens. I'm not a native English speaker either. And we can be very happy to have one common language that we can communicate in. And so I'm very grateful for the fantastic stories you shared with us. And I'm happy that you were our guest today. And that brings us to the end of this episode. And I would like to thank everyone who tuned in. As always, I kindly ask you to help us beating the algorithm and give us a 5-star rating and subscribe to our channel. If you have a great story to tell and would like to be a guest on our podcast, just write us. You can find the contact details in the show notes. And finally, I would like to thank our team behind the Classic Hard podcast. Without them, this would not be possible. Our editor, Friederike von Königswald, Marcus and Alex from Scenario Studio in Munich, and our producer, Robin Seiser from Shot One. Thank you, Baron Moorkens, and as I would say, merci beaucoup et bonne journée.
Merci.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.